Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldridge,
I'm your co-host Kyle Sullivan.
and we have a very special guest on the podcast today. We have David. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Feels, the roles were reversed just hours ago. Griffin, I was interviewing you. Now you're interviewing me. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm David. I've been a part of the Celtics community for almost 4 years now. I've been with Celtics Talk Weekly for about 3.5 years. Kind of like the Swiss Army knife over there. You've seen me on the YouTube videos. You've seen me lately just been writing articles, but yeah, I've been with Celtics Talk Weekly for 3.5 years now, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. And what a time to join, and what a time to start a company in September of 2021, where things were just about to get going for the Celtics. So yeah, this is a great time to be a Celtics fan, and I'm happy to be able to cover the team during this awesome time.
That's awesome. I, I,
Yeah,
I love your thoughts on that. Just give me a quick rundown. You kind of mentioned it already. What's kind of been your role with Celtics Talk Weekly? And I mentioned this on the podcast earlier. Go check it out, by the way. Link in description. Um, just really quick. So I used to watch it all the time. Kind of, what's your role there, and how do you even get introduced to it?
Yeah, so great question. The founders, Rob and Justin, started the company, I think in April of 2021. There was that season, it was towards the end of that season where the Celtics finished that year. It was like the second year of the COVID seasons where we finished at 500. We got our butts kicked in the first round by Brooklyn, but we don't have to talk about that. So that whole run is when they started that whole the Celtics Talk Weekly. It was just them two to finish off that season, and then that summer I had followed Justin for a while. Justin is Celtics Rising on Instagram. He's been doing that for I think like close to a decade now, and he's really put in the work there. And he put out something in a collaboration with Celtics Talk Weekly saying that Celtics Talk Weekly is looking for writers and someone to run their Twitter. So I DM'd the Celtics Talk Weekly account saying I'm interested in running their Twitter. And they looked through all my stuff. They liked some of the content I was putting out on my personal Instagram. I didn't hear any single thing back though. And I don't know if they remember this, but they basically looked at all my content and then just didn't get back to me at all. So I was a little bit bitter about that. Screw you, Justin and Rob. I'm just kidding. But basically, they ghosted me for a few months after just viewing my content. And then it was right before the season was about to start. So I had just gone back to college. I was a junior in college at this time. It's September 2021 now. So we're talking 3 to 4 months in between hearing from them. They put out the same ad. They're looking for someone to run their Twitter account. I reached out to them again. I don't hear anything for 10 days. I'm like, man, these guys just aren't serious. Like, what are we doing here? Like, they're just not taking me seriously. But then I talked with Justin and Rob over the phone a little bit, back and forth in Instagram messages, and they basically thought that I was a great fit to run their Twitter account. And since 2021, I've been running the X or Twitter account for the Celtics Talk Weekly. It's been hard to grow a platform on that medium of social media. I'm not gonna lie, it's I think a lot easier to grow platforms on YouTube and Instagram. So, I've gotten it up to almost 400 followers, but it's definitely been hard and it hasn't been, a straight line of growth. But yeah, that's been my most consistent thing I've done with Celtics Talk Weekly is just run their Twitter. And then this past season, I've been writing as many pregame articles for our blog as I can. I don't do every single game just because life gets in the way and my job gets in the way on weekends, but my main job is writing pregame articles. I reach out to other people in the community, try and do like interviews. I've done a lot of collaboration articles with people in the Celtics media, such as Cam Tabatabai, who I know you guys had on the show. Justin Turpin from WEI has helped out a little bit. Um, some other guys too. Apologies, I'm blanking on a lot of the names, but Yeah, basically, I just write articles on the pregame report, previewing the matchup, previewing or maybe even recapping the game from before. I try to throw in a little bit of like an analytical standpoint in those articles, so I just try and leverage some of my thinking with analytics. And yeah, I will also just occasionally pop on the post game shows if they need me. So our bread and butter on Celtics Talk Weekly is our post game shows. We try and do one after every single game, right after the final buzzer. And most of the time, they don't need me because we like to run with the 3 or 4 man team, and a lot of people are able to volunteer right away. But if they do need me, then I'm happy to hop in. You'll see my face on a handful of post game shows here and there. Um, I'm kind of like the Luke Cornett, I guess, of Celtics Talk Weekly. I'm like the Stay Ready crew, if you want to look at it like that. So main role is running the Twitter, writing articles, but I basically just try and do it all. Anything they need me to do, I'm willing to do because this is something I'm passionate about. This is something we're all passionate about. This is something that you guys are passionate here with Celtics Nation Rise. So, it doesn't seem like work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
awesome.
even coming from my own perspective too, I do an internship doing sports broadcasting, and it's just like, how do you get paid to do such a thing? It's like I love doing this, but I'll give you the title of a Derek White though, doing everything on the court, so I'll give you that title. Uh,
I'll take that badge of honor. I appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. So kind of adding on to that as well, kind of what you mentioned with the Celtics and everything. Um, Big Celtics guy. So, what's your expectations? Let's kind of go on the topic about that. All-Star break is over. Long All-Star break, I swear. It feels like forever. Like
It feels like forever. Yeah,
it sucks. Like I feel All-Star break is rewarding in a sense, and at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm just ready for Celtics basketball to start again. You know what I mean? Really quick too, I did want to mention on that too. I just remembered this. You were talking about kind of those post games too. We do recaps here, and it's tough. It's tough to do 82 games like
yeah,
after
it's definitely a lot. Definitely a lot.
a lot of work.
It's a grind, and I mean, there's like games, like the game against the Kings back in December, I think, or maybe early January, where we lost by 17 and we were tied heading into that third quarter,
Yeah,
and then it's just like the life gets sucked out of the building in the fourth quarter, and then you got to come on here after a deflating loss and talk
yeah,
about it. It's
it's
hard.
tough. Yeah, it's tough.
And I wanted to give you guys a shout out to do like an hour and a half too after those tough losses. Like we'll do short ones. So we'll do it like 10 minutes. We try
Yeah,
to
yeah,
just cram in the stats, but you guys get into depth and like you guys go all out, especially like you said, those losses that hurt. Like you're there and explain it
Here-
all.
Here's the thing that I hate about what the internet has become is like, we're obviously growing and we've had a really good year this year. Like this is the year we've probably been the most in sync on Celtics Talk Weekly, like putting out content every day. But it's the losses that get us more engagement than the wins. And like
I
we
agree.
had that awful loss against the Thunder where like we played amazing for one half and then we just completely crapped the bed the second half and we lost by 13. That was our biggest loss of the season at that point. We got infiltrated by so many Thunder fans in our post-game show that our views are like 972, almost 1,000 views in a
gosh,
post-game video. But like, it's just all people trolling us, and it's like we
wow.
do a great job of like doing analytical breakdowns, like providing logic with our thoughts, and like breaking down the game using facts. But no matter how hard you do and researching and stuff like that, it's always just, the rage bait aspect of the internet are like people just feed off of emotions and people love to see Boston sports lose in general. So it's like we have our best videos when our teams are losing, which I hate to say it, but like that's just the weird thing about the internet these days is we could, dominate the Raptors on New Year's Eve and win by 54 points, one of the biggest wins in franchise history. And that video will struggle to get 200 views, even though we praise the Celtics to the heavens, which they deserve that game. But these games where they lose the close ones or, you'll lose to the 76ers on Christmas, it's like everyone comes together because they got to say the sky's falling, this team's not repeating. Like we had 2 bad months, it's over, and like that's where we get most of our engagement. So that's the only part of this whole internet thing I don't like.
No, I agree. And I think that's kind of where our account comes into play too, because I swear the losses like do so good. And it's like, I think though, I think it's because Celtics fans are concerned and they're like, because
Yeah,
me personally, when I had didn't wasn't like I'll call it influencer with the Celtics, I would be that type of person that would click on these videos. All right, what's going on? Like I'm nervous and
yeah.
I want someone to save me and help my worries, you know? So I think kind of
It's
mimic.
just like
Right.
people want to know like what the team did wrong, kind of like during the game. It's like people want more information about like how he played rather than like because like the expectation for like the Celtics is to win a lot of games. Obviously, we just won the championship, so like if we like lose a game, like everyone wants to know like what went wrong. You know what I mean? Like because we had such high expectations.
Yeah. I think you said
Definitely.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it comes from a place of passion. Oh, I'm sorry. It comes from a place of passion. Like our fans in Boston are passionate, and
Yeah.
like I think the players that play in Boston are very fortunate to play here, knowing that their fans care so much, and it comes from just a place of passion. Like I've said 3 times now, but we just want our teams to do well. But yeah, it does get annoying for sure.
Oh yeah.
The
Especially
negativity can stop sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah. And especially the opposing fans.
Exactly.
Oh, they kill me. They kill me. So
Oh yeah.
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 So really quick, back into that All-Star break, wrapping up. Uh it actually I saw something that we have the third least competitive schedule uh this year.
Oh
Like
wow, I didn't see that. Wow.
so what are your guys's with that being said, what are your guys' expectations for this last half of the season? What do you guys want to see the Celtics do? Let's get into that.
You want
Kyle.
to go first?
Oh yeah, Kyle.
Yeah. I think like we've been playing well. I mean, like we just ended the before the All Star break. We ended, I think, on a 3 game win streak. I'm pretty sure. Like honestly, like I would like to see maybe at least like a 5 game win streak. Maybe rack up some wins a little bit, get a little momentum going. I think that we could personally catch Cleveland still. We had to see. There's still a lot of ball to be played, so we got to see how we play. I mean, as of right now, I'm not really concerned. We beat pretty good teams the last. I think we only had like one loss. I think in the last few games, which was to the Mavericks. And to be honest, I like the way we've been playing. The defense looks better now. For the next game for tomorrow versus Philly, we're going to be fully healthy. So it's all about just being healthy and playing the way we've been playing, and I think that we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last point is going to be my biggest thing for the second half of the season is just making sure we head into the playoffs healthy.
Exactly.
Very fortunate last year that we were rather injury free for most of the regular season. Obviously,
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis missed most of the playoffs, but we were able to do fine just without him. This year, it's definitely going to be a different story. I think we need 2 things to happen for us to repeat. I apologize, I'm jumping ahead with talking about what we need to happen to repeat, but I think we need Porzingis to stay healthy the whole way through. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's playing some of the best basketball of his career right now, given the fact that he's been rather healthy. I know when he first came back in early December, he would play a few games here, then he would have like an ankle problem, and then he'd play a few games there, and then he'd like hurt his ankle again on Christmas against the Sixers. But the last 2 months he's been playing pretty consistently, and like
Yeah.
he's been such a huge boost in this first quarter, him and Jaylen Brown. So I would just say staying healthy heading into the playoffs, and then also, excuse me, we've seen it an uptick in this lately, and I hope it can continue. But Sam Hauser's 3-point shooting, I think, is going to be the X factor for us winning the
Yes.
championship.
Yes.
Um, for the longest time, there was one point this season where he was shooting 35% from three, and it has been, I think, since his sophomore year of high school. That was the last time he shot 30 or 40% or worse from three.
Wow.
So last year he shot 42% from three, and at one point he was shooting 35%. Now he's up to 40%. I think he's actually been having a pretty good calendar year so far this year.
Yeah,
In 2025, I love the game he had against Minnesota at the start of the new year. The game against Miami he had last Monday was huge with those 15 points off the bench, helping us come back.
yeah,
So that's our X factor because if I look at it, the top five is the top five. You know what you're going to get from them. Probably 90 points of the 120 points we hopefully score a game are
hmm
coming from them. But we have Peyton Pritchard now this year, who's taking his game in the next level. So that's six. You don't know what you're getting out of Al Horford, but you have gotten a lot out of Luke Cornett this year. So what you're getting out of Luke
yeah,
Cornett this year, I view as what you would have gotten out of Al Horford last year. So that kind of replaces itself. The big one is you need that eighth person because every cheap playoff team runs with eight people, three guys off the bench. You've got to be able to go eight deep, and we have to have a guy like Hauser be able to shoot the three ball like we know he knows how to. So, he's on an upward trend lately, but that's my biggest X factor is just Hauser being able to, hit threes off the bench and ease a little bit of the pressure off of our starting five offensively.
Yeah, I think you
yeah.
guys
I
have both
100% agree.
great thoughts on that. I think too, you guys pretty much said everything I was gonna say, but I wanna, for my expectations too, I expect to see a lot actually. You guys didn't mention this name, Torrey Craig, new
Yeah,
he played great in his first game with Boston, and I'm just expecting to see a lot of good things come out of Torrey Craig. Obviously, we're gonna mention on this soon, filling that 15th roster spot, but I just want them to dominate, you know? I think that's the big thing I want the Boston Celtics to do because you see, we have the third least competitive schedule. Now, this is kind of where you need to move into, all right, now we need to dominate. We had those rough months in December into January. Now it's time to flip a new script, which we've been doing. We've been doing great. And now it's just time to execute perfectly, practice our scheme that we're going to go into playoffs with, and just honestly stay healthy. I think definitely this All-Star break helped. The only injury you see tomorrow against the Sixers is Xavier Tillman, who hasn't played much this year, so it's not like a big loss to you. Um, but Drew Holiday, we had a little concern around his injury, but he's fine for tomorrow. So you're getting the whole team back, and I think now it's just a matter of, like I said again, dominating for the rest of the season and ultimately going into playoffs healthy. Now, I kind of want to touch up on,
exactly.
yeah. So I want to touch up on this now. We have a 15th roster spot. Who we talked about this earlier too, but who do you guys want to see fill that 15th roster spot? We'll go back to Kyle. Who do you want to see?
I think personally, like what I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna convert Drew Peterson to a NBA contract.
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I'm gonna go down that route as well. I think that the Celtics just love wings. Like the Celtics can't
yeah,
just have like they love all their wings, and like we don't really need a big man because we have Cornette, we have Horford, we have Porzingis. If we need an emergency in the playoffs, we now have Kata. We've seen what he can do at least earlier this year, not necessarily lately, but earlier in the season. So I look at a guy like Drew Peterson. Griffin, we talked about this earlier. I love what I saw from him in Cleveland, albeit like a very, very small sample size, but I love what I saw from him in Cleveland back in early December. Knocked down a couple corner threes. He's a really good passer too. He's, he's not going to light up the stat sheet. And like, it's a privilege that we can be able to talk about this in a podcast, like worrying about who the 15th guy on our roster is going to be. But I think that yeah, he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to be able making mistakes out there. He's going to make the right play, make the right pass, take the right shot. So I think it'll be Drew Peterson converted, but the name I've been seeing floated around, and I want to know what you guys think about this the last couple of days is Dennis Smith Jr. Um,
oh
Oh,
wow,
really?
Jaden Springer 2.0, potentially an older version of Jaden Springer, a defensive minded point guard. I don't know what he's up to right now. I don't know if he's playing overseas. I don't know if he's in
I think he's
basketball, period.
overseas.
Okay. So I've
Okay.
seen that floated around on Celtics Twitter as basically having him be like a Jaden Springer type of Energizer Bunny off the bench.
You know, I haven't thought of that name, and I like that idea
I
because
wouldn't mind it. I really wouldn't mind it. It gives us veteran presence, like he's been around the league. Like I think he would be definitely a solid depth guy for sure for our team.
and I think adding on to that too, I feel like you see Drew Peterson. All right, he's great. Like he's doing great, but I think he still kind of needs to develop in a sense more, and that's
Yeah.
why I think they like having him as a two-way player because when he's struggling, he go down, get some buckets, come back up. But in a sense, I think they don't really necessarily want to lose that two-way contract. So you might see them going in that route, which I would be fine with. But going back onto what you guys said, I agree. I think Drew Peterson is the name you will see. I've said this on so many different occasions. He reminds me of a Sam Hauser. He's just incredible. He shoots the three ball well, and I just love, I see him all the time at the expo, and it's just such a privilege to watch him play. And like you said, he had that great game against Cleveland, and he's just a guy that I have nothing but high expectations for. Um, yeah, no, but following that up, I did want to talk really quick too. I haven't mentioned the O'Shea Brissett interview on here, so I want to talk to you guys about it. We covered this earlier too on Celtics Talk Weekly. It was actually pretty cool because I got the opportunity to meet Brissett, and I had an interview with him. So the first time there was a snowstorm, so they had to go, and I asked him, I was like, "What was your favorite part about playing in Boston?" He's like, "Oh, the food." And I was hurt as a Celtics fan because I'm such a big, like, I was so big on Brissett. And then he said that, and I was like, "Oh, so it's not the fans, da da da."
Not
But
even the championship, like
yeah, not even
you know, yeah,
the food. I have all things
the
the food.
food.
But he made up for it. We had a great interview. He told me he loved the fans, like he loved the bond that he got, a lasting relationship with the guys like Tatum and Brown and all of them. And he then I was like, all right, this is necessary. I was like, all right, so where were your favorite places to get food? And he gave me a list. I tell you what, he gave me a list. So that was kind of fun. But yeah. Kind of, we play Philly tomorrow. We're actually doing tomorrow a special. We're gonna have kind of like a Stephen A. Smith type thing with a Philly creator. That'll be fun. But what's your David? Really quick because Kyle and I will be doing that tomorrow, so you'll hear our expectations. What's your expectations going in tomorrow's game? Coming back from All-Star Week, what do you want to see from the Boston Celtics?
Not to fall behind by 26 again in Philadelphia. Quite no. On a more serious note, no fatigue. I mean, just it was a theme really. It's honestly probably been a theme the whole season. Like rough starts, like really
Yeah,
rough first
yeah.
6 to 12 minutes. Like that first quarter has been tough for the Celtics this season, and I feel like we should be almost be bracing for that to happen again tomorrow, coming out of the All-Star break, just playing through the motions. But I mean, I just want to see a complete effort. Um, you know, no disrespect to the 76ers. They're an NBA team, and I mean, they got the best of us on Christmas, but this is a game we should win. And we're going to be at pretty much full strength, minus potentially Xavier Tillman, barring any last minute changes tomorrow. So I just want to see us go out there, pedal to the metal. Don't force any threes. Keep up the defensive intensity, and then just move the ball around. And I mean, the big conversation lately has been if Tatum's usage rate is higher than like 32%, we're like 18-1 this season. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but like if we want to keep running the offense through Tatum, which worked right before the All-Star break, I mean, honestly, I don't know if it was the best basketball of his career. That's what Brian Scalabrine was saying on the broadcast, but that was some of the best basketball I've seen Tatum ever play those last 3 to 4 games before the
Oh yeah,
All-Star break.
yeah.
So, if we have to have the offense run through him again, great. But yeah, I just want to see a wire to wire victory. I'm saying the obvious here, obviously, but keep up the defensive intensity. If a guy like Gershon Yabusele is knocking down threes again, I don't want us to just keep leaving him open, hoping that he'll miss. Like if we got to make in-game adjustments, we make in-game adjustments. But
Exactly.
yeah, just execute.
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. Again, I'm excited. Lonnie Walker obviously signing with them. I don't know if he'll play tomorrow, but if he did, do you think there would kind of be like a revenge thing that he has against Boston? Do you guys think he has hate against Boston? That's my question. It's a tough one.
I
Cause
mean, maybe, but like not necessarily, I guess, because like
he
didn't
knew,
we got rid of him to save money? I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. So like
he knew.
it's a business. Like he's got to understand that. But he I'm sure he's just happy he has an opportunity again with an NBA team rather than playing overseas, for sure. I mean, as long as he has the opportunity in the NBA, I'm pretty sure he's decently happy.
Yeah,
I think that, yeah, I think that's spot on. Like, I don't think he's thrilled that we cut him at the end of training camp, but like he went that whole summer without being signed, and we were the only team to give him a chance. So I think he's
Exactly.
grateful for that. And like, he was even willing to play in Maine. I remember him saying that. Like, I think Brad Stevens told him, you may end up playing in Maine. And he said he was perfectly willing to do that. I mean, things have a way of working out. Maybe, you know, maybe it's just a chip on his shoulder in general, given that this will be his first NBA game in a while. And like, he's going to go on a revenge tour against the other 29 teams that just did not think about him at all the last few months. But I don't think there's any animosity.
I agree. I think the thing with Lonnie Walker is I think Boston fans loved him. And he knew that. Like, I think he has, like you said, no animosity towards Boston and their fans, especially because Boston fans loved him with open arms. Like, I remember when I saw signing Lonnie Walker, I was hyped. I was so excited because I was actually big on Lonnie Walker last trade deadline when he was a rumor, because I've always been like a fan of Lonnie Walker. But then obviously knowing the circumstance, like you're gonna have to pay $10 million extra and you're gonna have to give up guys anyways or something like that. It was a whole big confusing thing. I think taking that into consideration, you're like, all right, well, we're good and we can make a move. Like I think Torrey Craig, I said this earlier too, is the better option. Like between the two, I would
I
prefer Torrey.
agree.
I would. But I think
I
there's no,
100% agree.
yeah. And I don't think there's any hate. Like, I think personally, like you said, David, I think he's going to go in tomorrow and just have it out for the league. I think he wants to show that, all right, I'm worth this money that you're spending on me. Yeah. Um, Really quick though, what we do as well is so at the end of the podcast, we wrap up the games for the rest of the week and we give our predictions on what our record will be in that frame because we do a podcast a week. So I wanted to ask you really quick. So we play the Sixers, the Knicks, and the Raptors before we play again on Wednesday. What do you think out of those three games? What do you think the Celtics will be?
One quick question. Is the Knicks game at home or on the road?
Let me check.
I believe it's at home.
Yeah, I
I
think it.
think.
Wait, is tomorrow's game at home?
No, at Philly.
All right, so yes, then it's at home.
Yeah, it's at home.
Yep.
So if it's at home, okay. So it's a good question. I think I want to say 3-0, but it's just so hard to come back. I feel like from the All-Star break and go on a winning streak right away. I think we're going to drop that Knicks game regardless. And like for some reason, we never lose the Knicks on the road, but we seem to lose them all the time in front of the TD Garden, which is unfortunate. But I'm hoping we go 3-0, but cautiously, I will just say to hedge my bet, I'll just say we're going to go 2-1 in that stretch.
I like that. I like that. Kyle, what's your thought?
I think that the next game will be tough. I think they're going to play as well, but I think we'll squeak it out. I believe that will be 3-0.
So you guys are gonna call me crazy, all right? Um, I think the Knicks game, I think we've been so dominant against them. I think it will be a better game. I don't
Yeah, I
ex
think they're due to play us well one game because like
yeah,
both games were out of reach. I mean, by the third quarter, so like I believe that they're
And
gonna like finally figure us out a little bit, But I still think we'll squeak it out. I
yeah,
believe that we're still the better team.
and you got to figure that water's going to find its level a little bit because
Yeah,
like you just said, Kyle, like we shot the lights out not once but twice against them. Like we
exactly.
very nearly set the NBA record for three pointers on opening night 4 months ago. And then 2 Saturdays ago, we shot the lights out again, like 40, 50% or whatever from
Yeah,
deep. So as long as we get to that 40, I don't know if you guys know what the 40-20 rule is, where NBA champions need most of the time, if you want to be an NBA championship caliber team, you need to win 40 games before you have 20 losses. And this is a rule set by Phil Jackson. It's like 80 to 90% accurate, given a couple outliers across the time since he's made that proclamation. The Celtics are 39 and 16 right now, so we have to just win one of our next four games to hit that mark. As long as we get to that 40 win mark before we get to 20 losses, I'm fine. But yeah, that's just something that I'd like to get off of our shoulders definitely as soon as possible is get to that
yeah,
40 win mark
I agree.
because yeah, we obviously want to be on track with what history says in terms of who the contenders are.
I actually love that you said that because I actually didn't know that. So I'm
I
rooting
neither.
now. So that's a big win for us then. Um, but however, I'm gonna go 2-1 because every time I say like 4-0 or 3-0, we end up losing one.
Yeah.
Unless it was
Mm.
like the beginning, we are obviously off to a hot start. But the reason I'm saying this, and I don't think it'll be to the Knicks, I think they either lose to the Raptors or the Sixers. The
Wow.
funny reason why I'm saying that is because the Raptors have given us struggles this year. Aside from that 54-point win, other than that, we went into
Yeah.
overtime with them, and then
Yeah.
did we lose one to them, I think? Or
I
We
think
lost
we
to them in
did.
January
Yeah.
yeah. So
in Toronto. We couldn't figure it out that night. That was a rough one.
yeah. Yeah, so it's like Raptors have been giving us some struggle this year. And but aside, obviously, from that 54-point loss, and then the Sixers, obviously, I've mentioned this before too previously. The Sixers, they might not be the best team this year, but they've been giving the Celtics struggle every time they face off. So that's kind of like one that's like a head scratcher. But yeah, I think ultimately you see them coming down to 2-1. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's 3-0 because I'd love us to see a win streak right
Yeah.
out of
That'll be
start.
huge. That'll be a 6 game win streak right there.
Yeah,
That'll be huge.
that'll be big. But I think 2-1. David, thank you again so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. We were having green runs deep on, but we had postponed that. So I texted you at short notice, and you're like, "I'm in." So I really appreciate that.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Of course.
being on here, do you have any final thoughts that you want to say about the Celtics?
No, I mean, I just hope again, thank you guys for having me on. It was great meeting you, Kyle, and it was great, talking to you again within a matter of like 6 hours, Griffin.
Yeah.
We're becoming like best friends on the fly.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I just think, for me, I'm not sure again when the next time I'll be coming on this show is, but I'll
Soon,
say
soon, soon. We'll get you
soon.
on.
Well, awesome. Love that. My expectations for the Celtics the rest of the season is
Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go check out David's content. I'm gonna leave that link in description. We will see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna do that whole thing with the Philly fan. And yeah, I appreciate again for watching. We will see you guys on the podcast next week on Wednesday. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Peace.